Welcome to Imprint, a podcast about creating a home and life you love. I'm Natalie Walton, an interior designer, stylist, and best-selling author focused on an holistic approach to homes. Each week, I'm sharing insights and interviews about the creative process to help you enhance both your interiors and well-being, as well as provide you with the tools and resources to make considered and sustainable choices with all that you create. If you want to get to the heart of what your style is and how to express that in your home, then I'm excited to share some free resources with you. When you pre-order my new book, Style, The Art of Creating a Beautiful Home, before its worldwide release on July 5, you will get instant access to some free bonuses. First of all, you will go into the draw to win one of 10 places in the Styling Masterclass, valued at Australian $799. Secondly, you will get a free workbook on how to find your style. This is basically taking the ideas behind the book and helping you apply them to who you are. And finally, you will get instant access to 3 styling insider guides, including how to style step by step, walking you through how to style a space, a styling checklist, what you need to make sure you have in each space, and your essential styling toolkit, which includes the essentials I have in my home that help me always be ready to style my spaces. Just a reminder that these free bonuses are only available when you pre-order my new book, Style. All you have to do to claim your bonuses is go to nataliewalton.com/stylebook and enter your receipt or order number from your bookseller, and you will get instant access to the downloads and will automatically go into the draw for the giveaway. You will find all the T's and C's there too. So don't forget to go to nataliewalton.com/stylebook and you will find out where you can pre-order the book and how to collect your bonuses. Hello everyone, I hope you're all well. Today I'm excited to share an interview with the duo, the creative couple behind Design Tales. They live in Berlin and they have forged a career as a photographer and food stylist respectively. I will be chatting with Lara Muthesius and Nora Eiserman. And Lara is the photographer, Nora is the food stylist. And in 2013, they started with a food blog called Food Stories, which is @_food stories_, which has now grown to have more than 1 million followers. When they renovated their first apartment in 2016, they decided to share their passion for design and interiors in their account @_designtales_. And since then, they've renovated 2 houses, one in Sweden and one in Germany, and continue to embrace their passion of food and design. I hope that you enjoy our conversation. And before you just get stuck in, I just want to flag that we do have a little sound issue about halfway through the interview. It's just for a minute, so please bear with us in that moment. We were both experiencing storms, them in Berlin and myself in Byron Bay, and technology and the internet connection was not on our side, but it's just for a brief moment, and I hope you enjoy the rest of our conversation. Hello, Laura and Nora. I am very excited to meet you both and interview you today. I'm really looking forward to learning more about your story. I came across you through your design feed, Design Tales on Instagram. And then while I was doing a little bit of research for this interview, I realized that you've actually got this whole other food side to your business, which is far eclipses, I guess, in some ways what you do with your design work. So I'm fascinated the fact that you've been able to sort of work in these 2 different mediums and share in this way. So first of all, I kind of want to go back to the beginning and maybe one at a time, you can share your own stories of your creativity, your journey to becoming who you are today in terms of your career. So who would like to start first?
Maybe.
You start.
Should I start?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been born in Berlin, and when I was a child, we moved to the countryside close.
So just sorry, for the listeners, do you want to say who you are? Because they won't be able to distinguish before.
So Laura, I'm the photographer. And I've been born in Berlin and then grew up in the countryside. And I spent a lot of years in the countryside in my childhood, which was really nice. And I loved to be outside in nature and had a lot of freedom. And that was a really nice time. When I was 11 years old, my mother died. So that was quite a turnaround. And so from then we moved back to Berlin and everything changed, and it was quite a difficult time. And when I finished school, I totally got into photography thanks to my godmother, actually, because she took me to an exhibition from the photographer Giselle Freund, which is she mostly did like portrait photography. And I was totally amazed by her photos because she also captured a lot of the writers that I was reading at that time. And that was I totally got into photography because of that exhibition. So I started to look for photography schools in Berlin and then applied. And that's kind of how it started for me. And since then, that's what I'm doing.
But how, I mean, lots of people love doing photography and lots of people want to have a career as a photographer and, hope that they can make a living out of it. But so you say you went to school and studied photography, but then what? Because that's in many ways often the hardest part is kind of getting started and getting work. So did you assist for people, or how did you kind of start to get work as a photographer?
Yeah, no, not at all. I actually, during my studies, I did a lot of personal work, also to work with my childhood trauma. And then it was really kind of more like in an art direction. I did a lot of abstract work, a lot of portraits, totally different from what we're doing now. And I remember for our final work, I remember that one of my colleagues, she did a work about food, and I was like, oh my god, that's so boring. And I don't know, a few months later, Nora and I decided to do a food blog, just because I had a lot of food intolerances, and it was almost after I finished my studies, and so we just started because we wanted to share recipes, because we couldn't really find good recipes in Germany, and it was 2013, so gluten-free was not such a big thing in Germany at that time. So we just started to share these recipes, and along the way I really realized that I enjoyed to photograph food, which was kind of a surprise for me. And we just realized that it's such a big industry out there, that you can do quite a lot in this field. You can photograph cookbooks, there are a lot of brands obviously who sell food and need photos. So we just started quite quickly to realize that we want to do this for a living. And we saw our blog as a portfolio to find clients, and it really worked out quite fast, I would say, because we put in all our energy and all our work and quit both our jobs quite quickly. Fully concentrated on that. So
we gave us a time frame, 1.5 years. We are going to do this, and if we don't see money coming up there in the time, we will maybe focus on something else. But it, as Laura said, it quickly evolved, and also through Instagram, because there you could share your photos very easily in a beautiful way. And I think that's a great tool to meet clients. Yes.
Yeah, we were completely new to this whole social media world. It was completely new to us. Both of us, we were not really privately. We were not on Instagram or something. And I remember that my best friend, she with whom I studied, she already had an Instagram account, and she had 20,000 followers. And I found it so awkward that strange people would like her photos. And and then we just started as well, and everything evolved so quickly.
also even to, I think the first blog post we did in German, but then also through Instagram, because it was so international, we changed to English. And at the blog, actually, we do German and English still for our German followers. But yeah, it was a great time. Yeah, it was happening everything really fast, and such a great adventure.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so many things I want to kind of discuss about all this, but I mean, one of them, Laura, I think is what I often actually find with photographers, and I guess probably other types of creativity as well, is that, you know, you say that you had this interest in a bit different type of photography, and you didn't think that you were going to go into food photography, but I'm sure in many ways your passion and what you learned in that other style of photography, portraiture, probably actually elevates your food photography because you come at it from a different approach. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, totally, definitely. And I also don't see it like in a separate way now. Like for me, it's the same. It's photography, and I don't care if we shoot for a personal project or if we shoot for a client. For me, it's always the same passion, the same energy. We put our heart and soul in everything we capture. And yeah, I'm just really grateful that we can do that for a living, that we have so much passion about it. Yeah.
Okay, so Nora, can you share a little bit about your story?
Yeah, sure. So I was always kind of in a creative area also. As a child, I really loved to draw and make paintings and everything in the kindergarten, you know, like was so much fun. And then I went to school and started to play volleyball for 10 years on a professional basis since until the end of school. And that was a great time for me because I really learned a lot about teamwork and was very great. And after school, I wanted to do something more creative because I didn't felt so well in school. There was so many things, but I wanted to do more some handcraft things. And in the school by then, you didn't do something like that. And then I studied fashion design for 3 years in Berlin also. I'm also from Berlin. And that was also a fantastic time and a lot of hard work and everything. But in the very end, I also worked a few years in the fashion industry, but I didn't felt like 100% comfortable there. And this is also very stressful. And then through a film project in my atelier, I met Laura. And then 1 year later, we became a couple, and we did a lot of cooking, and I kind of cook a lot and to create also kind of, you know, you take nice cutlery and beautiful ceramic, and to really, you know, cherish this moment to eat together. And then we decided to work together and start the blog.
So I want to ask you then about this transition from, like you say, you studied fashion, you worked in the industry, and then you sort of felt that it wasn't right for you. But a lot of people struggle with that transition of letting go of something. You know, they've studied something for a long time.
Yes.
And you've put time and effort into it, you know, all those years. And then to sort of make that decision that it's not right for you. What helped you with that? Because a lot of people just stay with that thing that they're not quite happy with because they feel like, well, I've spent so long doing that, so I should just, you know, maybe it will get better or whatever. What helped you make that decision to let it go?
I think by nature, I'm a person who doesn't stick to things too much. You know, I try to live in the future a bit, you know, in the moment and the future. And for me, it was quite easy because I really like to try different things, you know. At the moment, we're doing food photography, but I don't know what we will be doing in 10 years, you know. I really like to try out a lot of, other jobs. I mean, that's for me very interesting.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
you're a very open-minded person.
Yeah.
You can really easily adjust to new situations, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
I mean, I can have fun to put the paper into the bins or something. You know, it sounds strange, but I don't know. I can see challenges everywhere, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. I completely get it. So I'm really curious about how you work. You know, as you said, you're a couple and you work together. How, I mean, how does that work? I mean, obviously lots, you know, there are lots of couples out there that
Yes.
work together, but, you know, it's there. So there obviously seems to be quite clear boundaries that Laura is the photographer, Nora,
Yeah.
you're the stylist, and I'm sure you give each other feedback and, you know, and thoughts and so on. But what about then, or can you just share a little bit about the process then of working together?
I think it actually works quite well. We never really thought about it before we started this journey. We just did it, and we love to spend time together. So it's not that we feel like, oh, it's too much now or something, not at all. And I think we have both different things to do, of course, but still it's like we style things together. Or sometimes during a shoot, Nora would be like, oh, this angle would be really interesting, Laura, do you see it? Or then maybe she even takes the camera and does a photo. So it actually kind of like is coming together, like, yeah.
Yeah, we don't think so much about it. But I know it can be hard to work as a couple, but
Yeah.
for us, it luckily worked very well.
I mean, what we kind of realized, or what we have to take care of, is to get enough free time as a couple. Because when you do something which you are so passionate about it easily can also get too much. So this is something we learned in the last 2 years, I would say, that it's also healthy and good to take some breaks and have a weekend without work and meet friends and do something else. So yeah, I think you can easily get lost in this kind of working too much when you are like self-employed and start something that you really like. So this is maybe something, yeah, that we kind of take care for now.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I have to ask you as well, obviously, about, you know, you've got more than 1 million followers on your food Instagram feed. Can you share like what has been your intention with that feed? You know, I mean, you say that obviously you started out, it was about cooking food that was gluten-free or, you know, that you could eat.
Yes.
But obviously, you know, you wanted to capture it in a beautiful way. What was the idea behind it in terms of the way that you decided to approach the photography and the styling of it? And, you know, what was at the heart and soul of it, do you think? And is that still the same today as what it was when you started out?
Yeah, I think when we started out, it was like to eat gluten-free was really ugly. Like you could find a gluten-free bread or a gluten-free pastry if you were really lucky in an organic food shop, but it was not delicious and not beautiful. And we both love beauty, we love art, we love to look at beautiful things. So it was just like really sad. Why should the food be so ugly? So this was kind of like a point in the beginning to create something that looks as good as something made from wheat, and that could be delicious and beautiful. So I think this was the main goal, and it still is today, that we still get feedback sometimes from people who are like, oh wow, this cake is gluten-free, it doesn't look like it. And so this is something that was important for us and still is today, I would say. And then of course we both feel really, we really love nature, and we really love to bring the food outdoors, to enjoy gatherings outside in the summer. We love to look for beautiful locations, to kind of, I don't know, create a dreamy reality, which is kind of,
yeah, almost like a painting, I think you could say. Yeah, like just a moment of peace and calmness, and yes.
Yeah. And so it was always just about kind of creating this thing of beauty when you were sort of sharing on Instagram. And did it just grow quite organically from that, would you say, Laura?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
And so what do you think helped it grow to, you know, over 1 million followers. I mean, that just seems phenomenal. You know, it's, yeah, I mean, so many people, I guess, particularly brands and, you know, even people with their own little businesses would love to have that kind of growth. What do you think are some of the key reasons why it's sort of resonated so much?
100% consistency. We posted every day. We worked so much. We produced so much content. We learned so much along the way. So I would definitely say consistency.
Yeah. And what are some of those lessons that you learned along the way?
Well, I guess because we have been new in our jobs and we didn't learn this job, we at the very beginning we had to try to be more confident, also about numbers and payments and everything, you know. And for example, our very first job was for a how you say, book dealer.
Yeah, a book publisher. Book publisher. Yeah.
Publisher. And we had to photograph food in a cafe, and it was our very first job. It was well paid, and we have been so nervous about it.
Yeah, we've been so afraid, both of us, like, oh, what's if we are not professional enough, if we are not good enough,
if they don't like the photos, you know. And it was a success. It was good. And I think, you know, jobs where you don't feel comfortable in the beginning because you didn't do those kind of jobs before, then you really have to trust yourself, you know, and then you grow with this job. And then for 90% you're doing this job great because you have the skills anyway.
And if not, you learn something from it. So
exactly.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest lessons we learned was definitely to trust more, to have trust into our skills, and yeah, don't let the fear become bigger, because of course it can be also good sometimes to be a little bit nervous and have that certain energy, but if it's too much, it can be also overwhelming. So yeah, I mean, everyone has that kind of thing, I think, to a certain point. So that was a big lesson to trust ourselves. Yeah
No, it's so important. Now, what about, oh sorry, go Nora.
So I just also think it's super important to have a good vibe with your client. So we learned this over the years. Even if it's a big job or something, but if you don't feel a good connection or it's getting too complicated in the beginning, then we sometimes say, okay, maybe you should work with someone else or so, because in the very end you will be just super stressed, you know, and the money doesn't help then either.
And no one will be happy afterwards.
Yes.
So yeah.
So can you sort of share some of the campaigns that you've worked on, or the sort of the types of jobs? In terms of how you actually derive your income, is most of it through taking photos for Instagram for brands, or are you doing, you know, like you said, you were doing with a cookbook, for instance, or whatever? Like, what other types of projects have you worked on over the years?
Yeah, we do work a lot for a German supermarket, actually, for their homepage and Instagram. So nothing that we share. We do that monthly since 4 years or 5 years even now. Yeah. And then we have so many different clients, also because we have 2 profiles. So you kind of attract like a bigger, like a wider client range, you can say. So it's very different. Definitely like food brands, and then of course also interior brands, magazines. Like in the beginning, we thought we would do much more. Like we were dreaming to do a lot of work for books, but this is not something that we actually do that much. We do a lot of work for clients that they can use the pictures afterwards for whatever they want, or their homepage or Instagram, obviously.
Yeah. And so who actually does, like, is one of the person that kind of actually like posts and replies to the comments? Like, how do you manage that? Like, if there's 2 of you and you've got, say, for instance, if it's the food account, or do one of you does the food account and the other person does the design tales? How does it work?
No, we do it both, but I think it's like
you're doing more.
I'm doing more because Nora is cooking a lot. So when Nora cooks, I can't cook at all. So when Nora cooks, like I have a lot of time to reply to emails, do Instagram. So I just also have more time for it. This is the reason. Yeah.
And so do you develop your own recipes as well?
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Do everything by ourselves, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge job in of itself.
Yes, but it's also exciting. I mean, you learn every day, that's great, I think. Yeah.
I'm so fascinated because Nora isn't a trained chef or something, but I mean, yeah, I think her work is amazing, what she's doing. And I mean, not only for our blog, but also like for clients that have totally different needs, like, I don't know, grilled meat or something that we would never share on the blog. But
thank you. Yeah, I mean, you learn by the years,
Yeah. And so now let's talk about the design tales. So what kicked off the idea to just sort of start a completely separate feed? And can you just share a little bit about that, Laura? Maybe you can share a little bit about it.
Yeah, when we wanted to spend more time in the countryside, and my father has a house here, but at some point he also wanted to spend more time in the countryside. When we were renovating our first flat in the countryside in a house of neighbors, we just really wanted to capture that process and to share that process, because we realized we really have another passion, not only for food, but also for design. So we really wanted to share that as well. So
what I'm curious about is, I guess, even more when it comes to the home, is that you've got two different people. And even though obviously you both have an appreciation for certain things, when it comes to creating homes, which is such a personal thing, it's the space that you're living in. Do you have very similar aesthetics when it comes to the home, or is there, and how do you do that together? I mean, often when I kind of come across couples or, families or whatever, who they're designing the home, there's usually one person who's more the person who's really passionate about it. But obviously you've both got quite a strong design aesthetic and an appreciation of things. So how do you negotiate that? Maybe Nora, you can share your perspective on that.
For us, it's very easy, I would say, because we both are in this Instagram world and we love to look at magazines and beautiful books like yours and get inspired. And we each month maybe finding beautiful furniture or stuff as inspiration, and then we show each other when we have a new project what the other finds, and then we decide together. We actually, I would say, we have quite similar tastes.
Super similar taste.
But of course, we trust also each other, And in the end, it always looks good. I mean,
yeah. Sometimes there is a piece that Nora wants more, or the other way around, and then, but in the end, the other person is always convinced that it was a good idea.
Yeah, and your spaces, I mean, they have a a very earthy kind of feel to them. There's very much lots of layers. This appreciation of the kind of rustic elements and the kind of the peeled back, raw elements of a space. But there's also the injection of more contemporary pieces as well. And sometimes it's lighting, like I'm not quite sure, they're a little bit mixed up in my head, but one of them, you've got like a rattan bed head, which is quite different to, say what you might expect in a space like that. So do you think that getting that balance between interjecting more contemporary pieces is key for, to kind of bring those spaces to life? Because sometimes, it's a fine balance, isn't it? Sort of getting that right.
Yeah, we actually never really think about it. We just buy what we love, and we love both. We love rustic vintage furniture, and then we love contemporary pieces. So it's not that we think about, oh, we have to find the balance. Would that be too much now? We just kind of do it by our intuition, like what would feel good for the space and what we just really like. And so far it has worked out quite well. Yeah.
And can you share a little bit about your design process? So you've renovated, some of these spaces from scratch. They've been, I think it was the schoolhouse that was, completely, it was almost like derelict.
Yes.
What's the process that you go through? Like, do you start with an image that inspires you, or is there like a piece of something that you find and that's the starting point? Can you share a little bit about the design process?
Yes, I think first, of course, we go into the house or flat or something, and then feel maybe what kind of function each room has.
I think we always start like with the with the energy of the place. Like, how does it feel? Where do you want to have the living room?
Should we open up a wall for more space?
Yeah, exactly. Or do you need bigger windows for more light? Kind of these things. Yeah.
And also to try to keep as much of the original house and to kind of highlight it also for later. For example, if you have wooden floors, so we free the wooden floors from carpets or old stuff and wash them. Or, for example, we use old doors and
to get that charming vibe back to a house. Because with the schoolhouse, it was actually really, it was such an ugly house in the beginning. Like inside, yeah, not outside. It was luckily not, but inside, like they had done so much bad things to the house. Like they added plastic windows. They threw out the beautiful wooden doors and put in plastic doors and all this stuff that kind of hurts your soul when you look at it.
Yeah, I always think as well, certainly anyone within Australia, we're always kind of partly envious of European homes and just the layers of history. Like you just don't get that, within the sort of buildings here, there's just not that layer of history. And I don't know if you've got my book still, but I went to the house, from Bauwerk, the paint brand, and there, I don't know if that's close to, because I know you got that place outside of Berlin, and they were sort of outside of Berlin if you're in that vicinity at all, but the walls in that house and then the walls in your places, they just so reminiscent and they've just got so much character. It's just, it just brings it to life. And is that what inspires you when you're kind of taking the photos and sharing the photos of that space?
Yeah, of course, it's all of these old details that kind of make a place unique, maybe.
And I'm curious as well, because just when you were sort of saying about sort of sharing, the day or the moment, lots of people struggle to sort of put themselves in photos on Instagram.
Yeah.
Is that something that you have always done? You don't necessarily do it a lot, but is that something that you've kind of, felt either more confident to do or sort of felt that you should do? Or how have you kind of overcome? Did you have any doubts about doing that at the start, and how have you overcome that for all those people who are still hiding behind their cameras, I guess?
I think we have 2 photos of us on our Food Stories feed, and we are doing it since 8 years. And we have like also 2 photos on our Design Tales feed. So yeah, we're definitely super shy when it comes to that. And
but you can also say that our work is our focus. We want to sell our work, and we don't need to be like, I don't know, important as a personality. I think our work is how we earn the money and what the client should see. We don't want to mix the two with too much personal stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I think we're actually quite private, so we don't really share a lot of personal stuff. We got a little bit more open this year, I think. Sharing like that it's 2 years ago already. Yeah, we shared that we got married and things like that. I think maybe we wouldn't have done that 8 years ago because we were too shy or too scared, or but this is something we shared with our community, and it was such a really nice feedback. So that was a really nice feeling, and kind of got us a little bit more confident.
And I've got to ask as well, what about writing the captions? Do you struggle with that, or does that come easily?
No, not at all. I think we're just really more into pictures, and if I could, I mean, I would also like just share pictures without writing any text, to be honest. That would be totally enough. Because
we are not like the storytellers, like
No.
the writers or something, you know.
not
I
through
think-
language, more
Yeah.
through the picture. Like we love to still tell stories, but not through language. Yeah, that's not our how you say,
But it's okay.
our talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can you just share, sort of before we get into sort of the last kind of few questions, just a little bit about your kind of day in the life? Can you share a little bit about your process, like sort of how you go about, you know, like, yeah, just give us a bit of a snapshot.
Ooh, it's so different.
Yeah, it's every day super different. As Laura said, because we have kind of two jobs, you know, with the food and with the interior. So, but of course, we do everyday mails and Instagram, and we often go food shopping or prop hunting. And then I mainly doing the recipe research and cooking, and Laura's maybe preparing already a bit the setup, and then we photograph together. Laura's editing, and at the very end of the day, we always eat together. I always cook like a warm dish. And so this is really like a big and important tradition to us.
Yeah, like a ritual almost. We love to cook at the end of the day. It kind of just calms you down after a stressful day. And yeah, but like we don't have kind of like it's not like we wake up every day at 6, 7, 8 in the morning or something like that. It's just like so different. We just allow ourselves to adapt to the different, I don't know, situation, client, whatever just comes our way right now. So yeah.
And are you eating a lot of food a lot of the time? Like, I mean, you're developing all these recipes.
No, actually, I can't eat a lot of the things we do for clients. So we always invite our neighbors or friends afterwards to kind of eat all the stuff that Nora cooks. And they always come with big boxes and freeze all the things. And but yeah, I mean, when we shoot something for our blog, of course, it's like, yeah, it's super nice to eat it afterwards.
You would be good people to be neighbors with. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
So what's next for you two? I mean, do you have a plan of what you're hoping to do with the blog, or you know, where you want to take it, or other projects?
I mean, we really want to do I don't know, you say relaunch, maybe that sounds so big, but we just want to change a little bit, work with the design of the blog this year, because we haven't done that since ages, and we really want to change the look a little bit. We have a really good friend who's really talented at that, so we're excited to work with her on that. And we would love to get more Design Tales content done again, because before the pandemic, we did a lot of home stories, and we really loved that, to meet new people, to see their homes. It's so intimate, it's so interesting, and this is something we would really do more again soon, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds exciting. All right, I've got some sort of rapid fire style questions. I'm just wondering, I might get you to do them, like all of them individually, because then it'll sort of just kind of, well, otherwise it might get confusing which one's which. So Nora, we might start with you. So which 5 words best describe you?
Okay. I think I'm pretty well organized. So I'm organized, and I must say I'm a perfectionist. I really, you know, every detail has to be okay and fine.
That's why you're a stylist.
Yeah. Okay, good to know. Yeah. And of course, that comes together with focused very well, because if you're cooking, you need to be really kind of concentrated and focused on baking, you know. And creative. Yeah, I'm very creative, and I don't know what else. Maybe gentle. Yeah, I'm very like a calm and but gentle person, and yeah, it's I think maybe a good combination, because our job is very stressful.
Yeah, definitely. Good way to be. What's the best lesson you've learned?
I I really think what I talked before about it, that you have to be confident about yourself in the job. Yeah, definitely, that you learn with every job and trust yourself.
What's your proudest achievement?
My proudest achievement, I think I really love how our schoolhouse came out in the very end. Really, because we didn't have an architect or anything, any help with that. And really, we decided every little detail in the house and everything came together. It feels so home here, and I'm so happy every day to be here and have the opportunity to live in a great house like this.
What's been your best decision?
I think definitely to start to work with Laura.
Thank you.
And to start our blog.
Who inspires you?
Of course, Laura. No, definitely Laura, yes. And I think you would also say nature, definitely. We live on the countryside, we go out every day, and we feel the seasons every day, and it's such, I'm so glad to live here. Yeah.
What are you passionate about? And you can't say Laura.
Well, definitely interior and food. I mean, yes, of course.
What dream do you still want to fulfill?
I think this is a plan we're talking about a couple of years now, because we traveled a lot in Scandinavia and have been staying at beautiful places. And I think one day I want to create a beautiful place which we can rent out. So kind of a holiday home. Yes.
For others. Yeah.
For others. That would be a dream for the future.
Yeah. What are you reading at the moment? Are you reading any books at the moment?
Yes, I'm a bit more into science stuff, to be honest, like reading, because we work with all those photos and creating moments, but I also like to get some science stuff. And for example, it's an author called Charles Seaman, and he is writing about the impact of Columbus in America, things like this. What was the time before, who lived before there, and what happened afterwards, and but also into garden books. So there's a really great English writer called Dave Goulson. I hope I spelled it right. And he's writing about how to have an ecologically garden, bee-friendly garden. Like this, really recommend this kind of books.
Great. And what are you listening to? Do you listen to any podcasts, or otherwise what music are you listening to?
Not so many podcasts, to be honest, yet. Mainly music, but like Spotify playlist, nothing really special. Yeah.
So any sort of artists in particular, or what type of music, what genre?
I would say I really like pop music, but for example, Phoenix, I really like, or Metronomy. I really like really a bit calm, happy music, and that's my kind of favorite bands. Yeah.
And what piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
I don't know if I would give an advice, to be honest, because maybe I think it's important to just learn the lessons you learn, by doing step by step and to grow. So maybe I wouldn't give any advice. No.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. Okay, great. So Laura, can you share which 5 words best describe you?
Yes, definitely impatient, unfortunately. Then also creative, and I think I'm very sensitive. Chaotic, like not in a way, like not in an interior way, like I really like order, but more into like kind of like I don't know, I'm not really good with time, for example. Yeah. And then maybe also powerful. I don't know if that's the right word, but I have a lot of energy. So maybe powerful would work.
Yeah, great. What's the best lesson you've learned?
Definitely to trust your intuition, I would say. I mean, I think that's the most important lesson I've learned. And this is something that sounds so easy, but sometimes we kind of forget about it and want to handle more like what our head is telling us. And I think it always works best when you trust your intuition and your gut feeling.
Definitely. What's been your proudest achievement?
Good question. I think probably that we managed to grow our business because, like as Nora said, like my father, who's now probably our biggest supporter and fan and is very dear to me and has done a lot for us. But in the beginning, he was really, maybe scared and not so positive. And he asked me if I don't want to study something real. So that was something really, like a moment I'm really proud of, to kind of that I can tell him, okay, everything worked out pretty well. And yeah.
What's been your best decision?
Definitely the same that Nora said, to start working with Nora and to have a work which you are passionate about.
Who inspires you?
I'm sorry, but I also have to say Nora, because I really think it's such a good match, and I'm so grateful for that, because we are similar in so many things, but on the other hand also really different, and that like she inspires me in so many ways and so many things that I would do so differently, or that I would see so differently. And I think that's it has such a big value for me to learn the lessons of life with her. I don't know, maybe that sounds super cheesy, but it's the truth.
No, I'm getting a kind of an appreciation for maybe the recipe for your success as such, because you're both each other's cheerleaders, which is really beautiful. So what are you passionate about?
Definitely photography. I just really love photography, and I love to go through catalogs of other photographers, to go to exhibitions, and then definitely also design. Like I love when we travel to Denmark. We go to Copenhagen so many times, and I always feel so energized afterwards to meet up with friends who have design companies, and this whole design universe is really something I'm passionate about at the moment.
What dream do you still want to fulfill?
I think maybe to create an interior book one day, because I really enjoy doing these home tours on the blog, and I think it would be super nice to make a book one day. Yeah,
I'm sure you'll do it. What are you reading?
I read a lot of novels normally, but at the moment, because we have a new building project coming next month, and at the moment I'm a lot into interior books, and I got your book for my birthday, and that was so funny, because seriously, I was Nora gifted it to me, and I was like, oh my god, this is the best interior book I saw in a while. Who wrote it? And then we just looked you up on Instagram, and this is how we found you. And yeah, now we're here doing the podcast with you. It's so fun.
There you go. You just never know what will happen, do you? What are you listening to?
Lately I'm a little bit more into podcasts, because a friend of ours, Eva Cosmos Flores, which has a really beautiful food blog as well. It's called Adventures in Cooking. She just interviewed us a few months ago for her new podcast called Feels Like Home, which I really liked. And then we obviously listened to your podcast before this interview to kind of get into the mood. And then, I'm a lot into music. At the moment, I'm really addicted to Arlo Parks. I love her music. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm soaking up all these recommendations. I need new music recommendations, so that's really great. And what about you? What piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
I would definitely tell my younger self, everything will be good, trust in yourself, and don't be so afraid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a hard lesson to learn, isn't it? Like it can feel so hard, but it's so true. And it sounds like you're saying before, it sounds so simple, but it can be really hard. It's just all those thoughts in our head that sort of swirl around sometimes, making us think other things. But yeah, you've just got to learn to sort of listen to yourself, don't you?
Totally. Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for both of you joining me today. I've loved getting to know more about you both and getting an insight into your lives, your work process, all the things that you've been doing. It's been really great. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much for the
Thank
wonderful
you.
opportunity. It was super lovely to see you.
All of the links and info for this episode are at nataliewalton.com/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can get a direct download of the latest episode. And I really appreciate when you take a minute to rate and review, as well as share the love with someone you know who might benefit from this episode, or on social media. If you'd like to access a range of free resources, come visit my website, nataliewalton.com. Thank you to Jaeger Media for producing this podcast. And I would also like to acknowledge the people of the Bundjalung Nation where it was recorded, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I look forward to connecting again soon. I'm Natalie Walton, and you've been listening to Imprint.